The city of El Paso in Texas is a vibrant border city known for its rich cultural heritage and dynamic community. It serves as a critical hub for commerce, education, and transportation in the region. Recently, the city secured a significant grant to enhance transportation safety through their Vision Zero Action Plan in the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which aims to eliminate roadway fatalities. This comprehensive initiative focuses on creating safe, connected, accessible, and equitable multimodal transportation options across the city. By learning from those who have navigated the complex grant application process, we hope to provide valuable guidance to future applicants through this video.
My name is Anna Zent. I work for the City of El Paso, Texas in the Capital Improvement Department. My role in the Capital Improvement Department is as the Bicycle and Pedestrian Program Manager. So I work on long-range mobility planning projects, as well as ensuring that the City of El Paso has safe, connected, accessible, and equitable multimodal transportation options. The project that we received our most recent grant for is a transportation safety project, and it was informed by our Vision Zero Action Plan, which is our action plan to reduce roadway fatalities to zero. And so there were a couple projects that we included in the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, and they're all share the primary goal of reducing roadway fatalities to zero. So they're all in areas where we have a concentration of high injury collisions. We did include a section in our proposal where we even noted exactly who we had been collaborating with and other entities that helped us with the proposal. So the first major one is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and I think that is really essential for the grant application because they'll be the ones that will be helping us with implementation. But another big chunk of organizations that helped us is we had a Vision Zero task force, and this was the task force that we established with the creation of our Vision Zero Action Plan, which, like I'm mentioning, informed our grant proposal. And this was a group of local advocates, local business owners, local organizations, nonprofit organizations, other stakeholder entities, even including representatives from our Metropolitan Planning Organization. And members of our Vision Zero task force helped us put together our Vision Zero Action Plan, which helped us in turn inform our grant proposal. And then it was also a really fabulous, I think, idea to have this Vision Zero task force because they informed the grant proposal. They were able to help us do community outreach in that sense, but then also they've been able to help us on the other end of implementation. And then also a lot of members of that task force, belong to organizations in our city that were able to submit letters of support for the grant application. So we put together a coalition of local advocates, business owners, organizations that helped us essentially inform this grant proposal. And this is something I'll share about a little bit more in this interview, but we had a consultant help us with our Vision Zero Action Plan, and the grant proposal was largely helped by those consultants. We had a pretty thorough section in our grant proposal where we had a big matrix and we identified every single project, every single phase that would go in with that project: design, engineering, community outreach, and we broke it down by quarter. So for every single project that was in our grant proposal, we acknowledged, we had a big timeline for every single phase that we anticipated within that project. But then we also had a readiness element where we evaluated exactly where we were at and how we were prepared, and also a feasibility for a lot of these projects, so that we were able to see how effective they're going to be and how feasible it is for each one of these projects to get started on each timeline. So like we mentioned, we had a consultant help us put together our Vision Zero Action Plan, which is our big planning document to help us reduce roadway fatalities. And that Vision Zero Action Plan had a lot of data, and it's the action plan where we identified these projects that we applied for the grant for. And so I think a huge element of what made this grant successful is that the consultants that helped us on the Vision Zero Action Plan helped us put together this proposal. So they were very aware of exactly why these projects were necessary, how we decided on them, and the public engagement that informed the selection of these projects. So we had a ton of data in our proposal, and like I said, a lot of it came from the Vision Zero action plan, but to be really specific, we had a really detailed crash profile. And so the grant that we applied for was, it's about increasing transportation safety. And so the crash profile, I think, was really interesting because we were able to very clearly identify who was getting into these crashes, where these crashes were occurring, when these crashes were occurring, in what circumstances, and what places, and what intersections. And so we had a pretty significant amount of data that helped us in that sense. I think data is a huge part of it. I think the data that we included demonstrated a very clear need. And there were two, big things with that data. I think that we demonstrated a very clear need for this grant with our fatalities, our roadway fatalities. And that was a topic that we honed in on very often. For every project that we identified, we were able to, even identify there's a pretty high death count in this area or for this project. And that's why we need, an intersection safety program for this area. And the other big, clear demonstration of need that we were able to do through data is that a lot of these collisions and these fatalities that I'm talking about in these areas that we're trying to improve are in areas of persistent poverty or areas of disadvantaged census tracts. I think, as high as 73% of the total fatalities that we identified. And so these two elements, really data-driven elements, I think helped us identify a very, very clear need for our city. So I think because the grant was successful, there's not something I could say that we would do differently, but I want to say what maybe put this grant apart from a lot of the other ones that we had. There are three things that were really successful. The presentation of it, for one, it was a really professional looking document, clearly well thought out. I think, graphic designer spent some time on it. We had some really great data in there, but another big element is goal alignment. We aligned everything, even going back to our Vision Zero action plan. So before we even applied for this grant, we had already aligned our city goals with the federal goals. And so when we applied for the grant, it was very easy for us to say, we've already adopted these approved countermeasures that the Federal Highway Administration would like you to identify or adopt. We've already, adopted those countermeasures, and we also put together, in addition to adopting the countermeasures, we adopted the Safe Systems approach, which is the approved Federal Highway Administration approach. So aligning with the federal goals was really, I think, contributed to the success of the grant application. And, demonstrating that prior to the grant application that the city had already made that commitment, I think also contributed greatly.